Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. There we go. I had my mic muted. No! I'm so sorry, guys. What a palaver. I am here, and hopefully you can hear me now. Let me try that again. And because of the buffering, I'll just play through the song so you can get an idea. And you should actually be able to hear me now, by miracle. Here we go. That's better, eh? Just checking. Oh, it's still saying no sound. Right, hang on for a second. Let me see if this is working now. Ba, 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 ba. If it is working, because sometimes there's a bit of a delay, can you guys let me know? And let's have a think what it could be. That's off. Camera, built-in microphone is on. Let me try typing. Oh, it's worked. It's worked. Okay, right. Oh, sorry, I got halfway through the piece and the sound came back. Oh, okay, you can hear me now. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Well, there we go. You got an essence of the song anyway. So, how are you all? I hope you're all doing all right. Now you can hear me. Let's bring a few of you on the screen. Hope you're all keeping well. So we're going to have loads and loads of fun. Hi, Karen. Hi, Karen. Who else have we got here? Hi, Linda. Good to see you. Hi, Cherry. Okay, cool. Oh, good. People can hear me now. That's good. Fantastic. Yay. So, yeah, we're going to have a go at an absolute, what I think is a bit of a kind of ukulele classic now. We're going to try Christmastime Is Here from the Peanuts Christmas film with the beautiful, beautiful backing tracks from Vince Guaraldi, who's just a wonderful, wonderful jazz player. Kind of really as much known for Peanuts as he is his jazz music, which is kind of crazy. By the way, if you think I'm not festive enough today, I went festive for our Christmas Canacapilla, so I thought I'd go a different track today. So I've got my Peanuts jumper and my Peanuts watch, so I'm in full Charlie Brown mode today. So that's what we're going for today. So just before I start teaching you the piece, let me just let you know that this is our last live lesson for 2023. Boo! It's been a wonderful, wonderful year of live lessons though, and I hope you've picked up lots of brilliant information. Thanks to everyone that supported me this year, and thanks to all my subscribers. Much, much appreciated. We are going to be back in January, so don't panic. In fact, I've already planned it, and the worksheets and everything will be up shortly. Wednesday, 10th of January at 3:30. Okay, Wednesday, 10th of January at 3:30. And we're going to have a look at the beautiful Moon River. And what I'm going to do is a new series of lessons where I kind of go into the mechanics of things. So we're going to take a really simple melody, the beautiful Moon River melody, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create a chord melody out of it, and I'll show you how we do it bit by bit. So we'll piece it all together, which is it's going to be really, really lovely. For today then, make sure you've got your live chat enabled and just ask any questions you've got as we go along. We're not going to go into a lot of harmonica analysis on this one, going through the chords and whatnot, just because they're so complex. I'll talk to you a little bit about that, but more than anything, I'm going to show you how to play it. So let's go through some of the very basics right from the start, and let's see if I can bring you in on my close cam. Yeah, I can. Brilliant. So first of all, let's make sure we've got our uke at a 45-degree angle. I like to just rest mine in my lap, basically. So my uke drops down into my lap, and having it at this 45-degree angle is really key when you're doing this style of fingerstyle, because if we go to some difficult kind of complex chords like the D major 7 that we're going to do later on, to try and get your fingers in this position when the uke is like this, it's hopeless. You've got to really kind of lean over, and it's really, really uncomfortable. But look how comfortably my fingers fall over when I'm at this 45-degree angle. As we're not going to do many today, but we do have one. If we come across a bar chord, such as the C13 that we'll have later on, look how comfortably my index finger falls across that fret. Whereas if I was to have my uke straight, I'd have to really kind of get into an uncomfortable position to make that work. So first of all, 45-degree angle, uke in the lap, and that's going to be really important. In terms of our picking hands, let me just move the sheet music out of the way. Sheet music is still available to download. I have it on screen, but obviously it's going to be very, very small on the screen, but you can download it. Subscribers get them for free, but you can also get them off my pay hip as well. So yeah, as I was saying, what we're going to do with our picking hand is we're going to do most of the work today using our thumb. So we're just going to be dragging our thumb over the strings, stopping occasionally on a particular string where we hit a melody. Now, if you can, to get a really lovely mellow tone, let's practice this with our first chord, which is this lovely F major 9. That's third finger at the 5th fret of the C string, first finger at the 3rd fret of the A string. And I want you just to drag your thumb gradually over all 4 strings. So we don't want a quick, or we want a nice gentle down strum, so we hear the separation between those strings. If you can, try and get that thumb at a right angle to the string, so it's not flat against the body. If you play it flat against the body, chances are, you're going to get that horrible twang of a string, whereas if it's this way, and you use the centre of your pad of your thumb, or the centre of the nail, you'll get a really nice mellow tone, and that's what we're after in this first bit. You'll also notice on your sheets that it says rubato. Let's see if I can bring the sheets up close. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. If I bring that over there, can you see that rubato there next to the P? That means that we can kind of play a bit fast and loose with the timing for this one. We can go slower and faster. So I like to play this intro through really, really slow. And the P means pianissimo, which just means quietly, so nice and quietly as we go. Yay, made it, Phyllis, fantastic. Thanks, Karen. Hi, Claude. Hi, everyone. Hi, Linda. Cool. Good to know you're all there. And you can actually hear me now. Oh, what an embarrassing start to the final lesson of the year. Never mind. Okay, so let's have a go at that first chord then. So index finger goes on 3, third finger on the 5th fret of the C string, and just drag that thumb over roughly where the body of the uke meets the neck. Now if you have a look at that next note on the sheet music, do you see how it actually has like a diamond note head? Can you see that? Kind of looks like a diamond shape rather than a semicircle or an elliptical note. And that's because we're going to play it as a harmonic. Now, normally when we play harmonics, and we're going to have loads of these today, normally when we play harmonics, what we would do is we would play above the 12th metal fret of our uke. That doesn't mean in the gap, it means literally over the metal fret here, your 12th one along. Quite often you've got 2 dots there to help, like this. You could use a 1-finger harmonic, or you could use a 2-handed harmonic. Now the basics of harmonics is that we touch the string with one hand, could be your fretting hand, over the 12th metal fret. I'm doing this on the A string. Don't press down on that string, just touch it with your finger. Now if you pick about 3 or 4 frets behind that with your thumb and then release, we trick the string into playing a note an octave higher than it should. So this would be a normal A, but we go to this nice octave A, which is really beautiful. You can do it on any string. Have a little experiment. Make sure you're just touching the string and releasing. What we're going to do today is we're going to try a one-handed harmonic, and this is a little bit tricky. What you can do is just place the pad of, this is with your picking hand now, place the pad of your index finger over the 12th fret. I'm going to do the A string again. Now behind it, using your thumb or another finger, you're going to pick the string and then release that finger off. And you can do that on any string. Takes a fair bit of practice. Some people prefer to use 2 fingers. I find that a bit difficult, as you can see. I'm not very well practiced with that. Oh no, I got one there. Yeah, but I have a lot more control this way. And the important thing is just to touch that string, not press down, just lightly touch it and pick as we go away. Now that would be a normal harmonic. Now if we want to play an artificial harmonic, whereby we play a note where we're holding something with this hand, what we've got to do is however many frets past the nut with this hand we go, we need to mirror that by going that many frets past the 12th fret. So after you've played that first chord, that lovely F major 9, what I want you to do is keep those fingers held down, and with a one-handed harmonic, just pick the 15th fret and allow the harmonic to come up. So we get this lovely. Now, not everyone's going to get that straight away. That's going to take a lot of practice. Don't worry if you haven't got it right now. You can really take your time with it. Hi, Asia. I hope you're doing well. Hi, Gail. Hope you're all keeping well. You can take your time with that and just be patient with yourself, and eventually it will come. It took me quite a few months to master harmonics when I was learning them, so don't expect results straight away. But if you're finding it tough and you still want to play the piece, you can just hit the A string without the harmonic, and it still sounds kind of sweet, as opposed to. And the harmonic really is just mirroring what Vince Guaraldi does on the piano. He hits some notes with his left hand low down on the keyboard, and then he'll mirror that with some notes higher up, which is really, really pretty. Next up, we go to a C13 chord, which sounds really, really fancy pants, but is actually really, really easy to do. All we need to do is use 2 fingers on the 3rd fret, one on the 3rd fret of the G string, one on the 2nd fret of the C string, and again, just strum down with your thumb. Now, because we're on the 2nd and 3rd fret here, when we do the harmonics at this end, we need to pick the 14th fret, so 2 higher than your 12th fret, on the C string, and then the 15th of the G string, like that. So basically the golden rule is, however many frets past the nut you are, say 3rd and 2nd fret, you mirror that this end by going the same distance past the 12th fret. It's quite cool once you get the hang of it, because it means you can do all sorts of fun stuff. One of my favourite things is to outline a chord, so I might hold an F chord down and I'll be able to play all the notes from the chord just by kind of going to the right fret here, which is really, really fun. All right. Now the F major 9 is a lovely, lovely chord. It just means it's an F major chord, just a normal major triad in the key of F, with the 9th note of the scale added, which is a G, and our open G up here. That's the one that we're adding to give it that lovely kind of tone. The 13th chord is really unusual. C13 actually has loads of notes in it. It's the 1st note of C, the 3rd, the 5th, the flatted 7, the 9th, the 11th, I'm not making this up, and the 13th. But we can only play 4 notes on our ukulele, so we have to get rid of a few of the notes in the chord. There are some that we try not to get rid of. The flatted 3rd in any chord tells you if a chord is major or minor, so we try and keep that. And we need to keep the 13 because that tells us this is the C13. But any of the others, we have to ditch them. So we end up with quite an unusual kind of chord on the uke. So once we do that final C13, we strum down and we just hit the E and the A string with a harmonic at the 12th fret. Okay, there we go. So Rebecca's just asking, is it correct that I'm not able to play that forced harmonic on my soprano? Not necessarily, Rebecca. You can play it on a soprano, even if it only has 12 frets. Takes a bit of practice. What you have to do, and I know it sounds totally crazy, Rebecca, but it does work. I promise I've done it on a soprano. You just have to guess or work out where the 14th and the 15th fret would be, because we're not actually pressing down against the fretboard. We don't actually need the metal frets for harmonics, they're just a guide. So can you see roughly how far past the 12th fret my 14th fret is? If you pick that distance on your soprano, you'll still get the note. So if I was to put a finger, say, on the 2nd fret here and play the 14th, I'll still get the note. 15th, and look, I could even go way up here and I can just guess where the fret would be for, what are we, we're 5 past the nut, so I'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if I guess, I can get that harmonic to work. If I go too far, it won't work. If I go not far enough, it won't work. Get it just right, and it will ring out. So it takes a bit of practice, but that's the brilliant of harmonics. You don't actually need all those frets. You can just guess where they are and you'll be able to play them, which is like magic, right? Let's have a go really slowly on that intro then, that beautiful, beautiful intro. If you haven't got the hang of the harmonics yet, just strum the chords with us. Here we go. Let's count slowly. We're in 3/4 this one, so I'll count a slow 2, 3. 2, 3. Harmonic at 15. C13. Harmonics in reverse. Then we go again, 3 and 5. Harmonic at 15. Back to C13. Go. And that funny little kind of symbol looks a little bit like a rainbow with a dot underneath it. Let me bring it up on my iPad and I'll show you on the screen. This one here, this is called a fermata, this one here. That just means that last note, you hit it and you just let it last as long as it takes to decay. So basically don't interrupt it. Then we go into the first one. So there we go, let's just see. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Asia, just make sure you've also got your fingers still down on the 13th if it's not working at the 15th. It could be that you've released your finger. So when you go up, make sure that you've still got that one held down as you hit the 15th. But it can take a bit of practice, but you could just hit an open A there. Just to fill it up would be fine. That's in the key, so that will work. So just have a little experiment. You could even just kind of replace it with a nice down strum. That'd be really pretty. So those harmonics aren't the be all and end all, but just have a bit of fun with them. Just see what you can get. So it's always good to ask these questions as we go, guys. It's absolutely helps everyone else, because a lot of the time, even if you're scared to ask it, someone else is thinking exactly the same thing. Okay, so we've got a tempo in this next bit, which means we're back up to normal tempo. We're going to play this super slow, so we don't have to worry too much about the tempo anyway. But that's all it means. The rubato has ended, where we're going like super slow. We're going to go to kind of a normal tempo now here. Now, all of these chords, they look really intimidated. I've shared this. This is a workshop I did last year, but I've been teaching this piece for almost a decade, I'd say. And every time I give these sheets to one of my students, there's an element of panic because they see some of these chord names. E flat 13 sharp 11. What? That's going to be impossible, right? But actually, the fingerings aren't that bad. So I'll kind of show you easy ways to make these chords ring out really true and simple. So this next F major 9 is a chord inversion. It just means the same notes played in a different order at the 7th, 8th and 9th frets. But it's actually quite easy. What we need to do is just take an E minor shape up the fretboard. And Karen said, yeah, it took months to get harmonics. It does take a little while, and always make sure you're literally over the metal fret, so the 15th or the 12th metal fret, not the gap between the frets. Super, super important as well. So let's have a look at this chord in the first section. Basically, what we're going to do is we're just going to take our normal E minor chord, which looks something like this, right? And we're going to slide that right up to fret 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we've just taken our E minor shape and we're just doing it at 7, 8, 9. Then you're just going to strum down with your thumb, nice and mellow. Okay, that gives that lovely F major 9 chord. Notice the next two notes are high Cs, this 8th fret of the E string. Same as this C down here. It's just easier to play it up here because our finger's already there. So all you have to do is just pick it with your thumb. Hit this open A. And then finally we have that funny sounding chord, right? E flat 13 sharp 11. That just means it's an E flat with the 13th and sharpened 11th note. The scale added, don't sweat the theory. And just drag your thumb over. As simple as that. I'll do that a couple of times. And we do that again for the next two measures. Isn't that pretty? Now timing catches some people out on this one as well. We've got a quaver, a dotted crotchet, and then another quaver, which can take a kind of a little bit of thinking through. But there's an easy way to count this, okay? So count the first two notes that you hit is 1 and, okay? So when we hit this 7, 7, 8, 9, and we hit that first note, 1 and, okay? Then when we hit the next A, count that as 2, 1 and 2, okay? 1 and 2. Then in the gap, we count a 3, and then the next chord, or the open A, sorry, is on the and 1. When I put it all together, the count will be like this. 1 and 2, 3 and. Okay, not too bad, right? 1 and 2, 3 and. Okay, but if you know the song, if you know it kind of roughly goes, Christmastime is here, right? You could just replicate that as well. There's something to be said for just listening to the original tune and having that in your head as you play. And that's what I tend to do. I do read sheet music, but I tend not to be thinking 1 and 2 and. I'll just kind of learn the melody so that it's in my head and I can hit the notes on the right beat, which makes it a lot easier. So yeah, don't worry, there's no dummies here, Joanna. It took me years to learn to do this stuff. And it's kind of why I became a teacher, because I think I've shared this with people before. I'm a kind of natural musician when it comes to songwriting. I just seem to be able to write songs quite easily. I guess because I grew up listening to like a whole ton of music. But I wouldn't say I'm a natural musician when it comes to actually playing instruments. On a lot of my records, I just get other people to play the instruments because I hate doing it myself. So I'm not a natural guitar or uke player. I had to really work hard on it over the years. And that's kind of why I became a teacher, so that you guys didn't have to fall into all the pitfalls that I did, and I can show you the easiest ways of doing things and how to kind of teach you using all my mistakes, basically, so you don't make them. And so I found these things really difficult, Asia, and I'm sure some of you guys will, but it will come, I promise. If I can do it, you can do it. I absolutely swear that. Okay, so that's our opening phrase. Christmas time is here. Really beautiful, isn't it? Our next phrase, it's one of those kind of misleading things in some ways. We've got a B minor 7 flat 5. Another word for that chord would be a B half diminished. But in actual fact, for us, we can think of it as like a D minor, because a B half diminished has exactly the same shape as this D minor here. So just like an F chord with this extra finger added, and we just strum that all the way. Notice the two F notes, the two ones that follow, your finger's already in the right place. Then we come up here to this B flat minor 7, just the first fret, and your fingers are on the G and C strings. I just use my first two. Now here, we're strumming down just the top 3 strings. Now this is a super important point. When we're doing this form of chord melody, where we've got a melody playing, which will go like this, it's really important that we hear those melody notes. Okay. Now, if I'm not careful with my technique, it could sound a bit messy like this. See how that melody is no longer coming through clearly. So the key is, whenever you have a chord like this 1-1-0, this B flat minor 7, as soon as you've passed the last string in the tablature, which is this E string, the melody note on, you dig in. So that means your thumb rests on the A string, and it prevents you playing it by accident. And it also means this note here, this E note, comes through really nice and loud. So that measure will sound like this: D minor all the way, then you 1-1-0, then this A minor 7, which is actually just like a C chord with a G added here. Then we've got a 2-finger chord, 1 and 3. Same principle. Use 2 fingers with this hand, 1 and 3, and this thumb really dig in after you've hit the top 2 strings. Don't allow it to play the E string. That will allow this E flat note to ring out. Okay. All right, let's try it from measure 9, that B flat minor 7 flat 5. 2, 3. Fantastic. Then we flip around this way. It kind of looks like a B flat chord, but we're not actually barring the whole of the first fret. We're just playing this 3-2-1. So we've come from this chord, this 1 and 3, just flip it around so it's in this direction. And we keep that chord down for the first 2 beats of this G minor 7. The first thing you do is you just strum the top 2 with your thumb, and then just pick the middle 2 strings in reverse for this 1-2, and that's an FD. Okay, so we get this. Okay, not too bad, right? Then we're back to the first fret again, but middle 2 strings now. Really dig in after you hit the C string. Fantastic. And then finally another F major 9. This one we're going to play it like the B flat shape we were doing earlier, but this time we're at 5, 4 and 3. Okay. So from, let's say, the last 2 measures where it starts like G minor 7, that will sound like this. Okay, isn't that lovely? Should we try the whole of that first section, starting from the 5th measure? Let's give it a go. And then what I'll do, I'll pause and see if we've got any questions so far. Hopefully you'll be picking up how it all works. Let's give it a go. I'll come in on close cam again. Sorry, my close cam's a bit fuzzy. It's an embarrassing thing. I dropped it earlier and it's not working quite the same. I don't know what I've done to it. I've tried like rubbing it with a microfiber cloth in case it kind of something got nudged, but well, I don't know. It's gone a bit fuzzy. But hopefully in the new year it'll all be fixed. And I know you guys said the video and sound was so much better when I did Canacapilla at home on Monday. I'm hoping by the new year we'll have this super fast broadband in here. If not, I'll just do the first live lesson at home and then it'll be super quick. Okay, let's do from that F major 7 where it says at tempo. I'll come in super close. Okay, so E minor shape. I'll kind of talk you through it as we go. 1, 2, 3. E minor shape. 8, 8. Off and down to these ones. All the way for that chord. We do exactly the same again. E minor shape. Moving back as we hit this open A. D minor shape. Hit the E string twice. 1, 1, 0. 0, 0, 3. Open E. 1 and 3. Flip them round for 3, 2, 1. Middle 2 in reverse. Middle 2 of the first fret. And then finally 5, 4, 3. Okay. Then we repeat it again. So let's do it again. I'll go even slower this time. 7, 8, 9. E string twice. Open A. 0, 1, 1, 1. 0, 1, 1, 0 all the way. Exactly the same again, guys. 7, 8, 9. Open A. And middle 2 of this first fret, strum all the way. D minor shape and strum all the way. F notes, that's your ones. 1, 1, 0 like this. 0, 0, 3 like this. Off and 2 open E's. 1 and 3, just strum the top 2. Fantastic. Flip around for 3, 2, 1. Middle 2 in reverse. 0, 1, 1, first fret. And then 5, 4, 3. Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, guys. Let us know how you got on with that. Beautiful, beautiful part. And believe it or not, we might have only done 2 lines, but we've actually done most of the song because this song has what we call an A format. So we have the verses, if you like, the A section twice, and we've got that repeat. Then we do the B section, which is the next section, which I'll teach you in a moment. And then we basically go back to the A section. Now, I promise not to go into too much theory because it does turn people off sometimes. But if you're into your kind of music theory, what's happening here is we're in the key of F. This whole song is in the key of F. And we know that because we've got one flat next to the treble clef. And also it starts with an F chord, an F major chord, which is always a giveaway, and it ends with an F chord as well. And the intro, we've got one of the most famous progressions of all time, which is just 1, 5. That just means we go from the first chord in the key of F, F, to the 5th chord, F, G, A, B flat, C, 5. And that's what's happening. In the next section is quite unusual. We have what we would often call a 1 to a flat 7 progression, which is a really kind of, that's why it's got such a ethereal, beautiful sound to it. F being the 1, and then E would normally be our 7th note in the key of F, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, and we play that as a flat. If you watch my Canacapilla sessions regularly, I often call that the indie chord, don't I? Because it often comes up in indie music. It's got quite an unusual quality to it. It brings a bit of tension and a little bit of kind of grittiness to the piece, which is really lovely. And you hear that when you hit that first fret chord. It's quite an arresting, unusual chord, that, isn't it? But really beautiful. On the second line, where we've got all those chords after each other and it looks really complex, mostly what's happening is we're just going from B, which is like the 4th chord sharped. That's a tritone in jazz music. That would take way too much explaining, but that's what he's doing here, Vince Guaraldi. He's using a tritone. It just means 3 whole steps up from the tonic, if you're into that sort of thing. But notice that those chords, B, B flat, A flat, G, and then G with a flat in it, back to F. it's going down what we call chromatically. It's basically coming back down the scale, half a step at a time, doing the chord version of that song, which is kind of fascinating. So it's literally just stepping back half a step using chords. But because it's Vince Guaraldi, he couldn't play normal chords. He had to make them really jazzy, right? So they're super extended chords. And that's what jazz musicians do. Then the next section, we're going to a really kind of unusual chords situation here, where really it's like we've gone to another key, to D flat temporarily. Don't sweat that too much. It gets a little bit too complex, this bit. But the chords are actually relatively easy to play. I say that, they're tricky, but they're doable, and I'm going to show you how. And I'm even going to give you a cheat. So let's have a look at the second section now, all right? That starts with this last measure of the second line. Now you'll notice that this song, we've got loads of these E minor shapes, because we've got the first one, haven't we, up here? And we've got that shape later on when we're doing this chord here as well. So we're using this kind of E minor-y shape quite a lot, almost like a B flat shape, aren't we? And we're doing it yet again here at the start of this section. So this time it's like we've taken an E minor chord and we've moved it up a fret. So for this D flat major 7, just think E minor, but I've moved it up. Now, if you find this next bit tricky, you can actually just do that for the D flat major 7. So don't play the G string and just strum the bottom 3 strings. And notice rather neatly that the next 2 notes we need, the 4 and 3, our fingers are in the right place. So something that suddenly looked like really unmanageable and hard is actually, that's not so bad, right? It's like an E minor moved up. We strum it and just hit those notes. Now, if we want to make it really sweet and add the D flat of the D flat major 7, we also add a little finger to the G string. So it's like we're going 5, 4, 3. No, hang on, I started from the wrong one. 6, 5, 3, 4 in terms of the frets, all in a row. But honestly, unless you're playing a low G, having that finger doesn't really make much difference. This is without. This is with. So don't sweat it. If you can do this one, go for it. If not, just bottom 3. Okay. Now the key to this next bit is fingering. So listen very carefully. I shall say this only once. See if you can follow this as best you can. After we come out of this D flat major 7 chord, the key to this next chord is leave that index finger, first finger, where it is. And it'll feel weird, but lift these two, your second finger, lift it up so it's on the same fret. It'll feel a bit weird. We don't really like these 2 fingers going on the same frets because we're used to them like Fs being a fret apart. But if you can, get them on, both on the same one, because then we can just put our ring finger up here on the 4th fret of the C string. And it makes a really smooth transition to that chord. Okay, that's the G flat 13 sharp 11. Hard enough to say, right? Let alone play. It looks like this. Notice how I just pivot on my index finger. Okay, I'll do it one more time. Or you could do your full version, of course, as well. Just pivot on that index finger. And those 2 up there. Brilliant, right? Now, there's also a harmonic here at the 12th fret of the E string, which you've got to be super careful that you don't flatten down these 2 fingers so that it rings clear. So that would sound like this. Okay. But you don't have to do that harmonic. It sounds just as sweet if you leave it out. In fact, I almost forgot to even show you that. So give it a go if you like, but yeah, if you can, pop it on in there. And now the next bit, let me just do this next bit, and then I'll come to Karen's got questions, so I'll bring it up on screen, and I'll And yeah, don't worry, James Gale, just take your time with it. You will get it eventually. Harmonics are just like one of those things. It's really frustrating as a student and a teacher, because you think, oh, why am I getting this? It's so frustrating. And then honestly, a few weeks it'll just click. One of my students, he won't mind me mentioning it, called Mel, who I teach on a Monday. I was teaching him the other week, and he just got these harmonics absolutely spot on. I couldn't believe it. Just like that. He'd obviously been practicing, and they clicked. So stick with it. You will get there, guys. Let me bring the sheet music on screen again, and I'll just show you this next bit. And then Karen, I'll answer that one in just a second as well. So let me just move that over. Sorry, my screen's got a bit funny. There we go. Right. Okay, so let's have a look. So next measure then, when we're going, this is measure 15 now. We start by doing exactly the same thing. Look, we start with this D flat major 7. But notice we have this C sharp note, the 4th fret now, instead of a C. So that one there. And then the same principle, pivot on that finger. Okay, so exactly the same principle. You could just use 3 fingers again, or the 4. Leave your first finger where it is, 4 with that one, and then just hit that one. Now again, we've got another one of those fancy harmonics on the 15th fret if you can. But if you're not sure, just leave that out. I might spend a little bit more time going through harmonics at the end. All right, let me just check Karen's question. So D flat major 7. I was playing. Okay. So Karen, I wouldn't do that if I were you. The reason being that you'd be playing a D major rather than a D flat major 7 if you did that, because basically, where are we? No, you'd be playing a version of a C chord basically if you do that one. It's like a B flat, B, C if you do that, Karen. It's one of those ones that kind of could sound all right, but this note here is the D flat, and that's really important. Whereas this one here would be, if you play it up there, that would be a D major. So if you were both on that string, it wouldn't quite work because you want that D flat rather than a D. If you find it easier though, Karen, just play that shape. But I would try and avoid hitting that D because it will confuse things. We want that D flat for the D flat major 7. All right, let me stay on close cam and I'll do the measures 13, 14, 15 and 16 really dead slow so you guys can see and copy along. Okay, it'll look and sound something like this. Pivot on my index. Okay, then if I can, a little, yeah, and we go again. This time 4th fret. Still pivot with that first, and if I can, a little harmonic. Not too bad, right? Now again, next bit is all about your fingers, guys. This is really crucial. When we go to this A minor 7, there's some fingers that I specifically want you to use. You can either write this in or just follow mine. You can always watch this video back later as well if you forget any of this. For this A minor 7, what I want you to do is use your 3rd and 4th fingers for the 2 3s, okay? The 3rd fret of the E string and the 3rd fret of the A string. And then you're going to reach up with your 1st finger here to this 2 up here, this A note up here on the G string. So 2 0 3 3, okay? And you're going to strum that all the way, okay? And then we just release this little finger for this A note here. If you've got a high G, you could hit the A note just by hitting your G string, like that one. But I like to put the A down here so low G's can do it as well. The reason I do that is that this next chord, this E flat 9, you can leave your little finger where it is, squish these 2 in here and this one up here. Looks like a water full of fingers. Again, oh, isn't that a beautiful sounding chord? As soon as I strum that, I'm like, oh, that's so nice. I love the sound of that chord, really mystical sounding. Now, if I just showed you that chord, you know, from the start, and I said, oh, we're going to do chords like this, you probably think, I can never do that. But as long as you think it through, right, think about those changes and use the right fingers, it's not too bad. Because we're going from this shape, and then into this one, just move that back like that. Okay, so from there to here, just planning ahead, isn't it, to get to that chord. So that's that that really beautiful but unusually flat 9 chord, which sound like this. Then when we do this D7, we're going to keep this finger and this finger where it is, and this second finger is just going to go up here. Okay. Resist the temptation of swapping over to this shape, because it makes the next bit super hard. I'll go through that one more time from that A minor 7. So this shape, open A, then we move back, and this one goes up here. The reason being that the next chord, the D7 with this B flat note added, you can just drop it in this first fret of the A string. That's your 2, 0, 2, 1. Okay, it's suddenly makes sense. Whereas if you've got that one and you need to get that note, it's impossible. So if you use those 3, see how I can put that down? Yeah, you've got it, you've got it. And then finally, we resolve everything. It's like a bit of relief when you get to this bit. Strum a G minor 7 all the way, bar the first 2 of the first fret, and then your finger up here, 2nd fret of the C string. Add any finger, this one or your pinky, for these 2 G notes, the 2 3s. D7 flat 9, it's just like a G chord moved up towards your nose. Not too bad, right? Notice something cool as well. The next chord, I can just take that up and move up for the C13, like that. And you could just play 2 of those, but if you want to do the fancy C13 I've done, lead with your 2nd finger up here to the 4th fret, bar the 3rd fret, ring finger comes down on the 5th fret. I'll do that again. So from that open C13, notice how I move this finger and then I build the rest of the chord. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go like crazy slow through. In fact, I'll do the whole of that section, the whole of that B section. So I'll go from this measure up here and measure 13, and I'll kind of just play it like crazy slow so you can follow my fingers and get an idea, and then we'll do it at tempo. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. Remember, you can just do this. And let me just make sure you can see my thumb as well, so you can see what string I'm picking. Hit this A string, pivot up here. And then I'm going to hit a harmonic. You don't have to do that. Then I go back to this shape, hit the 4th fret, then pivot again. Fantastic. After that, I'm going to come to this A minor shape like this with 3 fingers. The water full of fingers chord, I'm going to call it up here. These 2 up here for this D7 and off. 1st finger down here, G minor 7, G note there, and then like a G chord moved up towards your nose, C13, and up and into that shape. It's really pretty, isn't it? Let me do that a little bit more up to tempo as well, just so you can hear how it sounds. So it sounds something like this. So it's not super quick. Isn't that lovely? And that's going to take us back into that section, which is my favourite section. Whenever I get there, I get really comfortable. It's like, I remember this bit off by heart, and it's really sweet. And it's kind of like the main part of the song, isn't it? It's a bit that everyone knows. I don't know if you guys all watched Charlie Brown Christmas. It's just absolutely wonderful. We've got it on DVD at home. That's how old-fashioned I am, because I couldn't find it anywhere to stream, so I just bought it on DVD, and we try and watch it every year. It's just so kind of heartwarming and beautiful. I just love it. So yeah, that's cool, Cherry. Yeah, whatever works. I think I've got a bit of a mantra. If it feels good and it sounds good, it is good. So any alternative you can do for these chords, as long as they sound good and they work, totally cool. All right, absolutely fine. So yeah, that's that B section done. So next up we go back to the A section again. This is the start of measure 21, and you can see that we're starting a new section because in a song where we have these double bar lines, let me bring my iPad up. See here, if I bring it really big, those double bar lines as opposed to single bar lines, that's just telling you you're starting a new section. So whenever you see that, you can kind of think of it as a new part, if you like. And it just means we're going back to the A section, basically, here, which is really sweet. Now, I've just added a couple of changes for a bit of variety, but it's hardly any change at all, really. Basically, what we do is the same as before. We take this E minor shape up here. Then we hit this open A. And we go back to this unusual chord again. In another context, that can be in an A7 augmented, but in this one it is an E flat 13. Okay. Now, rather than doing a harmonic on this bit, I've just done a little arpeggio. An arpeggio is just where we play notes from the chords one after another, basically. And that's what we've got here. We've got like an arpeggio of an E flat 13 going on. So you hit the chord, and then just with your thumb, just drag it over the bottom 3 strings physically. Like that. Isn't that lovely? It's like a little echo, so. It's really lovely, isn't it? If anyone is feeling proper schmancy pants and they want to do something really crazy on this bit, remember those harmonics I told you? Well, if we're putting our fingers on the 1st fret up here, if we wanted to do an artificial harmonic, we'd have to go to the 13th fret, right? Because we're 1 fret past the nut, 1 fret past the 12th. So if I wanted to, I could do artificial harmonics here. Like that would be really sweet, doing 13, 13, back to 12. That sounds super sweet like this. It's really nice. Or just keep it to a straight arpeggio. Both sound right. Both sound nice, right? So don't sweat it. Just go with whatever feels most comfortable. And you notice that when I do that on these last 2 measures of the first page, I'm just going to do exactly the same again. So you can do either or you can vary it. Sometimes on those 7, 8, 9 chords, the F major 9, I like to do a little bit of vibrato. Now, most people would only do vibrato on notes. Vibrato is where you take a note, say this G note, and you kind of shake it to massage it a little bit. Sometimes I do that on this chord, just to wobble. Just slightly. And all I'm doing is a slight wobble that's coming from the elbow. It's not coming from the wrist, it's coming from the elbow. Normally with vibrato, I would take my thumb off the back to allow a better wobble, but this one I only do a tiny little shake, so I'll often just leave my thumb there and just give it a slight wobble. See how it just creates a nice bit of drama as I go back. So that's something you can have a little experiment with as well if you like, which is really, really quite a sweet thing to do. All right, let's finish this blighter off. We've gone through this quite quickly. I'll do a little bit of work on the harmonics at the end because we've gone so quickly, just for if anyone would want to. And I'll hang around whilst you've got some any questions with this as well. So let me know. So this takes us to our final page where we're just going to play out through the song. The next bit is just the same as we had before. So B minor 7 flat 5, which is another name for a B diminished. We're just going to play that D minor shape again. All right, it's D minor shape all the way. And hit that E string twice for the 2 ones, the 2 F notes. Up to the 1 1 0. Remember to dig in after you hit that E string. So you really hear that E coming out. So, whoops, I'll do that a bit cleaner. Then I've got 0 3. I'm just playing the middle 2 strings this time. You could play that one as well. Then notice here at this point I've got something called a writ. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you, writ. That stands for ritandando, which means we're going to slow down on this last bit. So it's played the same way we did it before, and we go really nice and slow now. So this gives you a bit of time to think as well, which is quite cool, right? So I have this 1 and 3, A flat minor 7. Flip it round to the B flat shape. Middle 2 in reverse. And then 0 1 1. Really tease that out. So if I've been going this tempo, here I start slowing. See how it just teases the ear. Then I finish with one final F major 7 rather than an F major 9. I love the sound of an F major 7. There's a few different ways you can play an F major 7. You can play an F chord here and add these 2 notes here. Oops, wrong one, that one and that one, which is quite a beautiful F major, but quite an awkward one. But this one's really easy to do. Just the top 2 strings at the 5th fret. I like to use my middle 2 fingers. Okay. Notice we've got that fermata again at the end, the thing that looks like an eagle eye or kind of a rainbow with a dot underneath it. Again, that just means that as you hit that final chord, you strum it, and then your uke tells you when to stop. Okay, so don't interrupt it like that, because that sounds rubbish. Let it ring out. And as soon as it's finished, then you can relax. Okay. So what I do, let's play that very last section really, really slowly. So I'll go back to the first page. We're going to go from measure 21. All right, that's this line, second measure along. Let's give it a go, really nice and slow. And again, I'll go super slow motion up close so you can follow. Let's give it a go. 2, 3. Open A, back to the first fret, arpeggio, we do it again, E minor shape 7 8 9, open A, first fret, arpeggio, next chord just think D minor, and we have the first 2 strings, 0 3, 1 and 3, flip it to a B flat shape, middle 2 strings, and then finally F major 7. Yeah, beautiful. Well done, guys. You've got it. That's it. Absolutely amazing. What we should probably do is just have a go at playing the whole thing through slowly so we can try it. So remember the first main section, starting from measure number 5, we're going to do a repeat. And again, we know that because I didn't actually say this, but I think you guys probably worked it out. We know that that happens because we've got these repeat symbols, which are the ones that look kind of like a bouncy wall with two dots, right? Whenever you see those, and they're here at this section as well. Whenever you see those, imagine that you go along, you hit the bouncy wall with the two dots, and you go back to the repeat sign in the opposite direction. I kind of think of it like bouncing between two walls. And unless it doesn't tell you otherwise, you do that once. So you would do one repeat basically as we go through. Then just play through to the rest of the song as is. Should we give it a go? Let's give it our best shot. I'll turn the page on screen. I know it's absolutely tiny, but most of you will have printed it out already. So, yeah. Yeah, Barbara, I know it's a bit unusual because tablature goes backwards, doesn't it? It's kind of awkward tablature. If you're interested, tablature goes, the reason tablature is back to front, you know how the string nearest our nose is the bottom line in tablature. It all goes back to fiddle players, because fiddle players, when they play, the first string that they would bow, that they would think of as number one, the first string that their bow would hit would be this one. So because of that kind of formula that violin players have used for the years, when it was then applied to other stringed instruments like banjos, mandolins, guitars, they kept the same process. But when I talk about chords, I normally say what we call from nose to toes. So from the highest string to the string nearest the floor. So if I ever say a C chord, I would describe as 0, 0, 0, 3. An A minor would be 2, 0, 0, 0. All right, just so if you ever hear me describe a chord and you think, what's he on about? That's what I'm getting on about. So hopefully that should work as well. Fantastic. There was one other thing I was going to show you, but I've forgotten what it was now. But oh, thanks, Laura. No worries. My brain gets like that sometimes as well. Merry Christmas, Laura. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year. Come on then, let's play it. We've put it off as long as we can. Let's play through the whole thing. You got this, guys. Okay, so we're going to start at 5 and 3 for this F major 9. I'll go nice and slow anyway, and I'll try and I'll come back here so you can see what's happening. Here we go. 2, 3 from the top. Harmonic if you can. 3 and 2. Back to that first chord again. Back to 3 and 2. Open. Now that E minor shape at 7, 8, 9. Pull back to the first fret. Lovely. Exactly the same again, guys. Now the second line. Just think D minor shape for the B minor chord. 1, 1 off. 0, 0, 3. 1, 3. Flip to the B minor, B flat shape. Middle 2 in reverse. Middle 2 at first fret. And then 5, 4, 5, 4, 3. That's C major 7. Okay, back to E minor shape up here. Back to the 5th fret. Pull back to the first fret. Lovely. Exactly the same again, guys. Pull back to that first fret. B minor 7 flat 5, just think D minor. First off, off 3. 1 and 3. B flat shape in reverse. 0, 1, 1. For F major 9, 5, 4, 3. Take that shape down and up and over. Okay, for our D flat chord. Whoops, I went too far. Pivot on this index. Up to 4 and 3. And the same again, just bottom 3 if you want. Over to the 4 and up again. harmonic if you can, but don't sweat it if you can't. Use these last 2 fingers for this A minor. 4 fingers in a row. Last 3 fingers for this D7. First finger down here if you can. G minor shape. G shape moved up. C13. And in third position if you can. Yeah, measure 21. Back to the same as the start now. 7, 8, 9. Back to the first fret. Exactly the same again. 0, 9, 8, 7. Back to the first fret. D minor shape. Okay, oh, let me flip the page just quickly. Okay, so D minor shape all the way. 1, 1, 0. 0, 3 in the middle. 1 and 3. Just think B flat shape now. Middle 2 of the first fret. And up to F major 7. Yeah, beautiful guys, you did it, you did it. What? Amazing, absolutely fantastic. Okay, what I'll do then guys, just whilst I'm waiting to see if there's any questions at all, I'll just hang around and see if there's any questions. Just let me show you a couple of things about those harmonics, because I sense that was what everyone was struggling with most. We can get rid of this for now so I can show you. You can see all my mess in the background. I had a big delivery of ukuleles for the first time in a long time today, so if you look carefully you see a big box full of koaloas. So I've got to sort those out tomorrow. Okay, so these harmonics, a couple of pointers that will really help. This camera is a bit clearer as well, so I've just come in close. I'll do it the old-fashioned way. In fact, I'll tip it down a bit. It means you'll have to stare at my belly for a minute. That's okay, isn't it? Okay, so what two-handed harmonics, make sure if we're doing an open string that we're going to play at the 12th fret. Okay, so if I wanted to do a harmonic of an A note, which is the A string, I would put my finger directly over that 12th fret. Now, super important, normally when we say a fret, we mean the gap between the 2 bits of metal, right? But make sure you're actually physically over that 12th fret. Don't press that string down, just touch it. Okay, you've got to touch it relatively firmly, but don't press. And then if you pick with your thumb, you might even find you get a little bit of a note coming out already. But the trick is to pick with your thumb and then, oh, I didn't do a very good one, let me try again. And then almost immediately release. In fact, I'm glad I went wrong then, because it shows how hard it is, and sometimes us tutors go wrong as well. Okay. If I remove that finger too soon, I get a just normal A note. If I don't remove it quick enough, I get like a muffled note. So you need to just experiment with when to remove it. Then if I want to use a one-handed harmonic, I'm going to use my fretting hand. I never say right or left, because sometimes I teach lefties as well, which is totally cool. So whichever hand you strum with, we're going to use that. This hand does nothing, okay? And the pad of your index finger will touch at that 12th again. See what I mean? Now I like to just rotate my thumb in between. You know how your thumb would normally be up here somewhere. I see how I kind of rotate my hand around, so my thumb actually scooches back. Okay, so I'm still above that 12th metal fret. I'm touching with this finger, and the thumb, I've got a long nail, but you can do it without. We'll pick the string, and then you'll remove that finger. Again, mine was a bit fluffed that first time because I didn't have the angle right, because I'm a bit in an unusual place here. But just like that. Again, if I take this off too soon, I just get an A. If I don't take it off soon enough, I get a muffled note. Just practice. You can also, some people like to use another finger, so they can do it like that. But I find thumb's got a little bit more power. And then finally, however many frets past the nut, you want to play a note and do a harmonic, like a closed note, so like a C note here, like from a C chord, you go the same amount of frets past the 12. So 1, 2, 3. If I pick there, ta-da! And you'll know if you've got it wrong, because if you don't go far enough, it won't sound. If you go too far, it won't sound. But if you get it just right, okay. If I wanted to do that on the second fret, I would go 1, 2. Okay. First fret, I would go 1 past the 12. And that's basically the principle of it, basically, of what we've got going on. So yeah, fantastic. Ba-da-da-da-da. Oh, Rebecca, it's just down to the key we're in, basically. There's loads and loads of chords in any key that can be referred to with two names. An example is when we strum our chords open, that can be called a C6 chord, or it can be called an A minor chord. Now, I know it sounds daft, but it's where the chord came from. Like, if you took it back to its most basics, so what was ours? Let's have a look on my sheet. It was which one was it? A B minor 7 flat 5. It's come from a form of a B chord that's been altered, a B minor chord even that's been altered. The fifth note of the chord has been flattened. That's how we end up with a B minor 7 flat 5, basically. So we can think of it as an altered B chord, if you like. And whichever chord it came from is really important. I'll explain why in a minute. So that C6, the reason it's sometimes called a C6 is we've taken a C chord, like a C major, and we've added the sixth note in the key of C. C, D, E, F, G, A. We've added an A note to a C chord. And the way to add an A note easily to a C chord is to play this open A. Now I've got C, E and G from a C chord and an A, C6. But we can also take an A minor and we can turn that A minor into an A minor 7. How do we do that? We add the seventh note in the key of A minor. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. How do I add a G note to this chord? Well, I just play an open G string. So here we've taken an A minor and we've changed it to A minor 7. Here we've taken a C and changed it to a C6. So we end up with the same chord shape but two different chords. Now this is really important. There's two reasons why we need to name it correctly. First of all, it's because we like to get things right. Yeah, right, you know, we like to be nerds. I like to get things right. So if the underlying chord was an A minor, we would call it an A minor 7. If the underlying chord was a C, we call it a C6. The other important reason is if we're playing with other musicians. A bassist, for instance, if they're accompanying you, when they get to a C6 chord, they would most likely play a C note at some point because that's the root note of the chord. It's like really important. So on a C6, the bassist would most likely play a C note. On an A minor 7, the bassist would most likely play an A because that's the root of A minor. So it affects other musicians that we play with. So two reasons we need to name it right. First, we want to be a nerd. Secondly, it helps if we're playing with other musicians. And hopefully that first bit explains how you end up with one chord shape with two different things. It's kind of another way of thinking about it more simply is just we've only got so many places we can put our fingers on this ukulele, and you start clashing where different shapes end up being the same thing, basically. So hopefully that helps. That's brilliant, Cherry. Fantastic. Removing the finger. Oh, Barbara, removing the finger for the harmonics. All you've got to do, really, the main thing is just kind of remove the finger almost instantaneously after you've done one. So, say I was doing a 2-finger harmonic like this. Oh, 2-hand harmonic. That would be better. Okay. Notice that I wish I had a slow motion thing, but I lift this finger up slightly, but it's only very slightly, a minuscule of a second after I pick with the thumb. So thumb picks first and then I remove this finger. If I'm not quick enough, it doesn't ring quite as clear because the string wants to vibrate freely. If I'm too soon, I remove this before I pick, I won't get the harmonic. So think of thumb first, then this one, and it's got to be super quick. Same when we're doing this style. The thumb is still picking ever so slightly before I lift this finger. Only minuscule amount, but it's definitely thumb first. And then finger. See, that was a bad one. I go wrong sometimes. It's all right to get one wrong. I'm playing a concert today and it's easier on the bigger uke. So there's a little tip for you. If you want nice harmonics, a tenor will give you an easier, cleaner harmonic. That's why guitars are it's a lot easier to do harmonics on guitars than ukuleles. The smaller the instrument, the harder it is to get that string to ring out as a harmonic. So yeah, fantastic, Charlene. It's those little things. Yay, whoop, whoop. That's what we want. Amazing, fantastic. Yeah. Ah, good. Yeah, cool. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Now you're a bass player. Think about those root notes that you might play. Exactly right. Yeah, you've got it. Absolutely fantastic, guys. Well, I'll just stick around for another few minutes just in case there's any questions because we did cover a lot today. But the main thing is just really enjoy it. It's such a beautiful song. I hope you enjoy it. And do look up the original as well. See if you can find Vince Guaraldi's version. If you can watch the film because it's super heartwarming and absolutely beautiful. Don't forget that I'll be back in the new year, so I haven't abandoned you. Don't worry. I'll be back on Wednesday, 10th of January for our next live lesson where we're going to be looking at Moon River and we're going to be working out how to create a chord melody in real time, which is super lovely. So that's 10th of January. I did my last 2 lessons for my fingerstyle course. If anyone's been following my fingerstyle course, if you enjoyed this and you like that chord melody way of playing, if you go to my website, mattsteadukulele.com, I've got a new course that I've just completed, which takes you through all of the kind of skills that we've been learning today, but in a lot more detail, a lot more slowly. So if you're interested, check it out. I just did my last 2 lessons for that. I'll be back with another new course in the new year, so I'm just working on something as we speak. So yeah. Let's have a look. An F major 7. Great question. So, thanks, Phyllis. You're always so kind. Thank you. So, is there another final chord? Yeah, absolutely. So, the best thing to do to think about endings is think about what kind of chord it is. The most important thing is it a major, like an F major 7, or a minor, F minor 6, something like that, or is it a dominant? A dominant is where you get a number after a chord without a little m or a big M, so F7 would be dominant 7th. So basically, because this is a major chord, we need to replace it with any chord which has the major triad. The major triad of an F chord is F, A and C, and we know that because when you do an F chord, you play an F there, we play an A up here, and we play a C here, this open C. And when we play those notes together, we get an F chord. We tend to just repeat this A down here. So as long as we have that major triad, we could do other forms of major chords. So you could do an F major 7, which is what we've just done. You could do your F major 9, which is that open chord that first one we started with. That's quite a nice one. Really sweet. You could do a normal F chord. You could do an F6. The easiest way to play an F6 is like a D minor 7. Just think D minor with that note added. So that's another one of those chords that has 2 different names, F6 and D minor 7. Okay, that'd be a nice one. You can also play that F6 by barring a hole in the 5th fret. So basically any of those would work. You could even go super fancy if you wanted for this and do an F6/9. That's a really nice jazz chord. That's 2, 2, 3, 3 from nose to toes. I use my first finger here and then my third finger here like this. That would sound really nice. That'd make the last line sound like this. that very cleanly, but that's quite sweet, isn't it? So any kind of F major chord, basically, you can add that. You can change to another one. So F6, F6/9, F major 7, F major. And that works for anything. If the last chord was a C, you can play C, C major 7, C6, C6/9. And you can do that for minor chords as well. You can play, if it ended with an F minor, you could play an F minor, an F minor 6, an F minor 9. You can do similar things, basically. So just have a little experiment. Somewhere, I think I've got a sheet. If you email me, Phyllis, I think somewhere I've got a sheet with all the common kind of chord swaps that you can do. I'll see if I can dig it out for you. Just send me a PM or an email. I'll ping that over to you. So yeah. Thanks everyone. Thanks Linda. Happy Christmas. I can't believe that it's not that long to go now. It's just mad, is it? So yeah. I'm the same, Andre. You know me from Canacapilla. I will sing if I have to, but I'd much rather play chord melody style if I can. So yeah, absolutely. I'm with you all the way with that one. So yeah. Thanks, Cherry. Thanks for this. Thanks, everyone. Well, have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, guys. That's me done in terms of teaching for this year, believe it or not. I've just got to get on with some ukulele festival stuff. I've got to do all boring things like write everyone's contracts out and all that sort of stuff for all the artists and sponsors. So that's me done teaching this year. So next Canacapilla is going to be 8th of January. We'll be back on the 8th of January for our next Canacapilla, which I'm really, really excited about. We'll have the sheets for that in the next week or two on Facebook. And our next live lesson, as I said, is 10th of January as well. So have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, guys. Thanks from the bottom of my heart for all of your support and friendship over this year. It really means a massive amount. I absolutely feel blessed to be able to do what I do and teach you lovely, gorgeous people. So thank you for all of your support over the last year. And let's have an amazing 2024. Maybe I'll see some of you at the Ukulele Festival of Great Britain or the retreat. I'm so excited. It's going to be absolutely, absolutely amazing. Oh, one last final question. I reckon I could do this quickly. 5557. That will work, Cherry. That will work because that would be an F major 7. Another version of F major 7. That will work as well. Yeah, that's it. That's it, Phyllis. That's your F6/9. You got it. I just got that squeezed in. Brilliant. Merry Christmas, everyone. Much love, and I'll see you in the new year. Take care.